Welcome back to our CEO.CA viewers. My name is Amrit Gill, and we are at PDAC in Toronto, the world's premier mineral exploration and mining convention. And we're joined by Matthew Wilson, CEO of Sterling Metals. How are you? How's the convention been so far for you?
It's been great. I feel like I should be walking in like the Late Show or something into this, sitting here at the beginnings. No entrance. Yeah, the show's been great. Good crowd.
Yeah.
First, non-COVID show in a while, so everyone seems very excited to be here from around the world, and no bubbles, and so it's great to see everyone in the same place again.
Well, you've been to a couple. What makes this one different?
I think, no COVID. That definitely makes it a little bit different. It's mining goes through cycles. So people get very excited sometimes, and then are very much not excited the other times. We went through some pretty bearish years there from 2012, I would say, through until the COVID hit, and so you see kind of a renewed enthusiasm here in the space. So that's also really nice to see.
Well, let's get into it. Tell us about Sterling Metals.
Yeah, so Sterling is a relatively new company. It started in 2020. Our focus is the Sail Pond project, which is at the top of the Great Northern Peninsula in Newfoundland. We are exploring for silver, copper, lead, zinc, and antimony, and we have really high grades of all of these things. We have this 12-kilometer long, very large scale footprint, very high grades across the project, and we spent the last 2 years kind of narrowing in on where to best focus our efforts, and that was what we ended up doing of the last drill program. And so really right now we're kind of on the cusp of hopefully finding a pretty good and important high-grade new silver polymetallic discovery.
Well, on the cusp, and we do have some breaking news as well, so feel free to share with our viewers.
Yeah, so today we announced, I guess, in live a couple hours ago, we announced that we acquired a project called the Adeline Copper-Silver Project. Adeline is about 500 kilometers northwest of our Sail Pond project. It's in the middle of Labrador, and this is a monster. This project is a 44-kilometer long sediment-hosted copper, hopefully a sediment-hosted copper potential deposit. It's 44 kilometers of high-grade copper on surface. There's drill holes that are 8 meters of nearly 2% copper and 60 grams silver to confirm it. And the scale of this thing, when you're looking at comparables around the globe, you're looking at world-class supply copper for every electric vehicle kind of asset. The comps that smarter people than I have made is things like Uticon, which is in Russia, which is 1.2 billion tons of 2% copper in a mine reserve. These are big. These are wherever we have woolly mammoth hunting, so to speak, what we're trying to do here. So Sail Pond is our flagship, and we've just acquired this. And when you see an asset like this, a potential district scale kind of play, you have to jump on it. And so now in this small company that we have, about a $14 million market cap, we have these two kind of company-making assets, both focused on silver and copper.
Well, you're in the hot seat, but you've mentioned your team a couple of times, and they really make up the fabric of a company. So can you speak on your experience and what your team brings to the table as well?
Yeah, so I've spent the last 15 years investing in junior mining and running junior mining companies. I started a company called Pine Tree Capital. We owned everything across the spectrum in junior mining across the world. When I joined in 2009, I think we had almost 500 positions. So a lot of experience came from looking at projects around the world for 6-7 years. And then since then, I was investing privately. And this company, actually, Sterling, used to be a company exploring for gold and restarting a gold mine in South America called Latin American Minerals. And I put my hand up as an investor and said I would take it over and see what we could do. And it didn't quite work out, but we ended up selling that asset, moved forward and found Sterling. And so from there, I learned very quickly that team is the most important thing. You really don't get anywhere if you don't have a good team. You can start with the person leading our exploration program. Jeremy Niemi is a friend of mine for 12 years. He has a very specific skill set. He's been part of 2 different projects in the last 13 years where it had been a small discovery, and then he takes it into something very large. The first company was Noront, which he took up to about 20 million tons. The nickel project that got sold to Wyloo. And then the second one was the Romero deposit in the Dominican Republic. It was a gold and copper VMS system that he took from an initial discovery of 300,000 ounces and made it almost 4 million ounces. So it's a very experienced operator and exploration geologist. And then our advisory board is definitely worth highlighting. We have two very key members of our advisory board, the first being Dr. Neil O'Brien. Dr. O'Brien spent 20 years as the Senior Vice President of Exploration for Lundin Mining. And so his experience around the world is second to none. He's seen projects everywhere. He actually was a very vital part of putting together the Filo copper district down in Argentina right now, which is just an amazing place to be. And he's on the board of NGX right now. So he's been vital in this new acquisition and talking about it. He knows the Adeline project quite well. And he came on actually for Sail Pond, but then also was talking about Adeline. And then the other one is this Dr. Stephen Piercy, who is the incoming president of the Economic Society of Geologists and chair of the Geology Department at Memorial. So good Newfoundland person to have on the team as well.
Yeah, well, you've touched on it a little bit, the Sail Pond project. Could you further elaborate what the project entails and provide a little bit more detail?
Yeah, so Sail Pond, again, it's a camp scale project. It's 12 kilometers plus. It has high grades up to 4,500 grams silver is equivalent. Our recent drill holes have hit 8.5% copper and 1,600 grams silver with a whole bunch of other good stuff in there. Basically now we have two zones that have developed within this 1 kilometer area within that grander project, right? And so there's this 1 kilometer footprint now that's composed of two zones. The first is the Heimdall zone, and Heimdall is a 400 by 200 by 150 kind of blob of OK grade sulfides with these two higher grade trends that are kind of pointing in a direction of where to go. And then 500 meters north, we stepped out and we drilled this hole and hit mineralization that was unlike anything else in the project to date. It was this basically 100% pure metal replacement of the rock. And that's what graded 8.5% copper and 1,600 grams silver. And so what's really exciting about this project is that there's multiple styles of these really high grades because metal tends to like metal. And so if you have multiple pulses of mineralization, multiple styles, usually when you find a source, they all come together and make something really fun. Mm-hmm. So what we're trying to do right now is we're doing some geophysics and to find where that kind of pools and comes together to find where they're all being friends and sorting it out.
What do your most recent results mean for investors?
Yeah, so the most recent results, I think that the big thing to remember here is that projects like this they take time. I mean, they say Rome wasn't built in a day. There's a reason that they say that. And these intercepts that we're hitting are admittedly narrow. They're from this to about this, and then they have this halo around them of lower grade. But what's really important to notice is that it's this kilometer area that we've drilled now. And in that kilometer area, you have high grade everywhere. And then you have this halo of lower grade. And so that's coming from somewhere. And so what's really important, I think, for investors to realize is that it took us some weird drilling and some lucky drilling, but now we're doing very targeted drilling. And so the results to date are like, look, there's a lot of high grade here and it's coming from somewhere. And then ideally what ends up happening in this coming year is when we drill, we figure out where it is.
Yeah, what benefits will the deep 3D Orion have on the project?
Yeah, so the Orion survey. So this is an evolution of something called the Titan survey. And in fact, the person that is doing the work for us on it actually had a part in inventing this survey back in the late 90s with Quantec. This survey, the point of this is that if you think about it as things in 3D, so we have this 12 kilometer strike length, now a 1 kilometer footprint that we're focused on. We know that there's grade and we understand what's going on at surface, but what we don't understand is what's going on down to 2 kilometers depth. And what this will do is basically provide us this literally a 3D cube that you can kind of spin around in a very Tony Stark Iron Man kind of way and stick in the deposit in the middle. And so you should be able to map the structures that connect from that really deep source up to surface, and essentially wherever the two shall meet is where we're going.
Yeah, when can you expect the remainder of last season's drilling results at Sail Pond to be released?
Yeah, the assay labs have certainly been a challenge for us. We are continuously trying to fight through that. I think that those should be out pretty soon. It's these little bits and pieces. It's actually interesting because it's always the higher grade portions that are going through extra QA/QC. But we should hopefully be able to get those out pretty soon along with these kind of the preliminary Orion results.
Yeah, what is the potential upside for this year's drilling?
So the potential upside for this year's drilling at Sail Pond is the source. So in figuring out where this monster of a footprint with these high grades comes together, finding these pods. You notice if you look at some companies around the world, like an Aya, for example, in Morocco, they have this pod and that's their mine. And these things are very, very high grade and very, very condensed. And so these are very economic sorts of things. Not a lot of rock has to be moved to make sure that it works. So that's what we're targeting this year in this drilling for sure. We're going to look a little bit deeper, look for the source. And Adeline, actually, one of the things about that project is it's quite drill ready. There is a historical hole of 8 meters of almost 2% copper and 60 grams silver. This is a copper silver project. And it's right on the edge of a very attractive chargeability anomaly. The reason that matters is because the copper in the system is in the form of chalcocite, which is like pure, almost copper. And chalcocite lights up a lot. It's very conductive, and the chargeability anomaly either means chalcocite or pyrite, and the historical drilling was not pyrite. And so the excitement for us is you've got this historical hole, you've got this 44-kilometer long trend, just a monster of a project, but you actually have a discovery already and a place to go. So in the same way to Sail Pond, scale, grade, discovery, and jurisdiction is second to none, being in Labrador and Newfoundland.
Yeah. What tips of the trade can you share with our viewers, given your experience in this sector?
I think that from an investment perspective, I always look at things like risk and reward. So, you know, you can't really make those huge gains if you don't understand the risks. And I mean, you want to protect your downside, but get the most upside possible. And I think that the best thing I could say is just understand what that upside is. What are you chasing? Are you chasing something that could be worth $50 million, or are you chasing something that could be worth $3 billion? At Sterling, we are focused on things that have lots of zeros behind them if they work. And so that is the kind of thing that I like to go after, something that has that high potential to, make an impact on the globe. And I think that just understanding those upside, that up and downside is probably the best thing to say.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our community at CEO.CA?
No, thanks for the support. I love the message boards and the questions. I'm going to try and be a little bit more engaged on that this year and make sure that I'm there for answers. But no, I think that 2023 should be a really exciting year, and I look forward to providing a lot more results as the year goes on.
Well, I appreciate your time today. Enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thanks so much for having me.